All right, here we are again, sitting with Captain Marty here in the studio and on the edge of my seat, ready to hear another one of his great stories. Captain Marty, what have you got up your sleeve for us today?
Well, Justin, there are a lot of ways to catch fish in the Gulf Stream, but I'm getting ready to tell you about a way I bet you've never heard of before, and I'll be right back to do that. Hey y'all, Captain Marty here to tell you that when my friends are in the market for a new boat engine, repair, or repower, I send them to the best in the business, and that's at Ratcliffe Marine in Belhaven. Ratcliffe Marine is your official Honda outboard dealer. Honda motors are designed to get you on the water fast and get you back to the dock safely and quickly. Ratcliffe Marine is best known as the largest repower center in North Carolina. So when you're in the market for a new motor or you need your Honda service, go to Ratcliffe Marine, 865 Highway 264, Belhaven.
Ahoy there, folks. Captain Edward Lee here, and I want to invite you aboard the Miss Oregon Inlet 2. She's a modern 60-foot head boat outfitted with the latest top-quality safety and fishing equipment. We make 3 trips per day out of the world-famous Oregon Inlet Fishing Center. Visit MissOregonInlet.com or call us today at 252-251-4314. So ditch the beach for a bit and set sail with the Miss Oregon Inlet 2.
Justin, many years ago, and for many years, I of course, as you know, I ran charter boats at Oregon Inlet. One of the nicest boats I ever ran was the last one, was the Seabreeze. The Seabreeze was built by Bobby Sullivan. I spent a year helping build that boat, and then owned by George Sawyer from Elizabeth City, who's owned charter boats in the Oregon Inlet fleet for 30 years. And George is a diesel mechanic by trade. He owns a diesel business. So it's really nice. It's like having your own personal pit crew, and on days where everybody else is changing oil, George loved nothing better than to drive down from Elizabeth City and piddle in the engine room on his boat. Really nice. Plus, he would ride out with me a lot to learn a little bit about doing it, because on a lot of Sundays, he would take the boat himself, which gave me a day off to go to church and be with my family.
Always good, always good.
Yeah. So we had a particular day. Now, in the charter business, you get them all. You get all kinds of people. From every walk in life. And on this particular day, we had a middle-aged woman, a mother, and her son, 2 people. And she was dressed a little bit like a hippie, kind of like
okay,
long flowing thing, dress, a lot of beads. And I was thinking, had her son, who was probably 12 years old, 11 or 12 years old, very nice people. And they got on the boat. It's kind of a pleasure to just go with 2 people, especially a mother and son, So we got out there, and George Sawyer, the owner, had ridden out with us that day. So he and I are on the bridge. We went down to what we call the Point, which is the most popular. It's a canyon. It's not Cape Point, or it's not the Point of Shoals. The Point is a geographic. It's fascinating. It's a big hole 35 miles southeast of Oregon Inlet. You've heard me say before, it's shaped like the letter G.
Yes.
And the crossbar on the G would be on the eastern side, and the top of that G is an opening into that canyon from offshore. Nowhere on the East Coast do more boats fish than the Point off Oregon Inlet. That day I started there, and we had nothing. There wasn't much going on. So after a couple hours, they were pacing around. They were they were nice though. I didn't feel any pressure, anything like that. So I left the fleet. I said, I'm going to fish north and just get out of this knot of boats, and I'll take whatever I can find. That's a decision most charter boat captains make almost every day. Are you going to be a fleet fisherman and stay right there on that canyon and pick out what you can, or are you going to be a scout fisherman and go somewhere different and take your chances? I was always a scout. Billy Midget was a scout. Mike Merritt was a scout. John Bayless, big scout. And there's that group of captains, Others were... they'd stake it out on the point, and whatever happened. So I started fishing north, and of course now the people in the charter are watching the fleet disappear off the stern as we are leaving the fleet, and some of them were stopping, got up to what we call the Big Eye Hole, which is a smaller canyon, still nothing going on, and now it's getting to be like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You ain't got much time left, and we're heading for a skunking. But they were so happy to be out there that they just totally were enjoying the day. It was a beautiful day. So finally, she goes to the cabin and comes back out in her long flowing dress. And she says, Captain, I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to try something here to help us a little bit. I'm like, in her hand, she had 5 rocks, 5 polished round stones. Beautiful, all of them different colors. I don't know where she got them or what they were, but she went back to the stern with her son and held her hand up over the fish box and she started chanting over those rocks. And I mean, she went on for a minute or two, holding them up to the sky, kind of. I thought, what's she going to do? Is she going to throw them over, or what's going on? And she got done, and she said, there, now we'll get a bite. And she took the rocks back up, I guess, and put them back up on the console in the cabin up on the dash. Mm-hmm. Within 45 seconds, we hit the tuna. We didn't hit one tuna. We hit 8 big yellowfin tuna at one time.
Wow.
On just about every bait. We had 2 anglers. So we had a chore, and believe it or not, we caught all 8. All of them. That's 400 pounds of fish in one fell swoop. And so I was thrilled. I'm like, I went about 30 minutes without another bite. It was almost good. And I was, hey, go get those rocks. Come back out and let's try it again. So she says, can't do it. It only works once. It can only work once. You can't abuse it. The special magic power of the rocks. Plus, she already had 400 pounds of tuna, and she's probably thinking, I'm not going to burn up all my luck or whatever it is, my magic, being a pig, being a So we were happy. George Sawyer and I were up there on the bridge like, can you believe that? And we had a chuckle about it. Anyway, that's not the end of the story, and I'll be right back to tell you what happened after that.
Red Drum Tackle in Buxton is the oldest complete tackle shop at Cape Hatteras. And being the closest tackle shop to Cape Point, Red Drum Tackle has been welcoming fishermen to Hatteras Island with a wide selection of bait and tackle, skilled custom rod builds, rod and reel repair, expert knowledge and information since 1974. Red Drum Tackle knows how, when, and where to fish. To acquire this fishing brain power, visit them online at reddrumtackle.com. Red Drum Tackle, the oldest complete tackle shop at Cape Hatteras and the closest to Cape Point in Buxton.
So everybody was happy on the Seabreeze. We had a box full of fish, a beautiful day, a happy clients, really good. And 2:30, we head for home. It's quiet. We ride all the way, 2.5 hours, 2 hours to the Seabuoy, another 30 minutes to the dock. And now you have to think about what I'm getting ready to tell you mechanically. Justin, you've got some mechanical background. You'll get this. But for our listeners at home, follow this closely. So we come into the Oregon Inlet Fishing Center. To back a boat into the Oregon Inlet Fishing Center and that fleet of beautiful char boats is a privilege like you can't imagine. To back a boat as beautiful and nice as the Seabreeze with 2 motors. And I had driven plenty of single engine boats, but I'm just telling you, in my career, when you look back there on the dock and the dock is crowded with people and you spin that beautiful Carolina boat, you're on a charter boat that captains from Maine to Key West would love to be on, would love to be a part of that fleet. And it's a show. In fact, if you're listening today and never been down around the docks at Oregon Inlet or Pirates Cove or down in Hatteras when the boats come in, it's worth the price of admission. I spin the boat out in front of the slip very professionally, go straight back in the slip perfectly. The mate puts on a couple of stern lines, we're done. The boat's sitting there at idle. I hit the stop button for the starboard engine, it cuts off. I hit the stop button for the port engine, and it cuts the fuel off to the motor and the air, and the motor shuts down. It takes a couple seconds. But I let off. And the last thing that happens in the cycle of the camshaft rolling around in the pistons is it rocks to a stop. If you let off of the stop button, the last thing that camshaft does is rock backwards. So you got to keep the stop button held in. I didn't, and what happened is in the middle of that revolution, the camshaft was rolling backwards. In other words, the engine was, in that last cycle, was turning a half a turn backwards. I let off of the stop button, the motor started up in reverse, not in gear. The clutch was in neutral, but the engine was firing backwards. All your timing, everything about that, it can happen only with a diesel engine, and it's called dieseling. What happens is the engine cranked up going the wrong way, and so that changes everything around. So the exhaust pipe, where you bring your air, is now the air intake instead of the exhaust.
Oh, Lord.
The air intake on top of the motor is now the exhaust because everything's going backwards now. And so what happens is I got a diesel mechanic on the bridge with me, the owner of the boat. All of a sudden, we don't know what's going on because the engine room just filled with white smoke. It's running poorly, so it's not like it was going out the stern. Cloud of white smoke coming up. We thought the boat was on fire. So course, somebody on the dock called the Nags Head Fire Department. And then we could hear that the motor was going, it's just trying to run backwards. And the whole cabin was so filled with white smoke, you could not see in the cabin. I ran down there and I grabbed the woman and the boy, and they kept wanting to go in the smoke, go in the cabin. I'm like, get off the boat. We're on fire. We weren't on fire, but it sure looked like we were on fire. The fire, and the diesel kept running, and George couldn't go in the engine. You'd have suffocated trying to get in the engine room. So eventually he found he could reach the fuel cutoff valve, and he cut the fuel off, and he was choking and gagging. And the woman and the boy got up on the dock. The Nags Head Fire Department shows up in a big yellow fire truck, and everybody around us was cutting their dock lines and pulling their boats out because they thought we were on fire.
Wow.
First thing you do is get your boat out of that marina.
Yes, my Lord.
Don't wait to untie it. Get a knife, whatever you got to do, get her out of there quick. So anyway, finally we realized what's going on. And there's the whole basin, the fishing is filled with this white smoke. So I look, and while I'm talking to the fire department, that woman gets back on the boat. There's still a lot of smoke in there. And she goes into the cabin where, you know what she went in the cabin for? She went in there to get those 5 rocks off the dash of that boat where she had set them for the ride in. And I'm going to tell you something, those rocks were worth a lot to that woman. She was not, she thought the boat was burning down and she was going to lose her magic rocks. But she went in there and she got them. And I kind of scolded her a little bit, like, man, I don't know, ma'am, you shouldn't be in the boat. She did it behind my back, like going through the fog. So she got her rocks back, and I can't imagine what she's used them for since then. But that was one of the strangest and oddest things I've ever seen in my career as a charter boat captain. It's my story for you today.